You know, Chrissy, most men think that finding the Filipina is the victory.
But actually keeping the relationship healthy is the real challenge.
Oh gosh, there's money pressure, family pressure, jealousy pressure, health issues, boredom.
Retirement fantasies versus reality.
And Chrissy, one of these mistakes destroys more marriages than scams do. So you finally found her.
That sweet Filipina.
The one who actually answers your messages.
The one you video chat every night.
The one who actually makes you feel calm again after 10, 20 years of stress.
And now you think you've done the hard part.
No, Chrissy, we're here to tell them the hard part's just beginning.
It's not yet over.
Because finding a Filipina, a good Filipina, is actually easier than keeping a good Filipina.
That's right.
And this is where a lot of Western men make massive mistakes.
And some become too controlling.
Some become too generous.
And some other Western men start treating the relationship like it's a business.
And some, Chrissy, just completely misunderstand Filipino culture and slowly start to destroy what they've built.
But also, a lot of Filipina make mistakes.
Big mistakes.
Very big mistake.
And today, Chrissy, we're going to talk about 10 different types of relationships you need to be aware of.
And today we're going to talk honestly about what really going to happen after you find your unicorn.
Chrissy, one of our subscribers actually wrote in with the suggestion for this video. I think it's right on point. If you've already met a Filipina or you're about to meet a Filipina, this is a video you need to watch.
Yes, I think a lot of you can relate to this and we can relate to this. And some of you haven't found your Filipina yet. I think this video is also for you.
Yeah, Chrissy, we're starting our 4th year together. We had our 3-year anniversary meeting in person. We've known each other for 3 years and 2 months ago. It's our 4th year of being together, and we're in that phase where you know, people are writing in all the time telling us we're making mistakes.
Yes.
People think I'm spending hundreds of thousands of US dollars on this property up here in the mountains instead of the 35, 40,000 that is really coming out of pocket. And there's lots of other mistakes that people think we're making. And we want to talk about these types of mistakes. Some you've written in that you think we're making, and others we see in the expat community, and we hear from people in the hundreds of consultations that we've done in part of our YouTube experience.
Yes, honestly, for 3 years of being together, along with that are the mistakes, all the struggles that we've, found in our relationship, but we're still here and we're moving
Standing
forward.
strong. That's right. We're going to talk about what happens after you meet the Filipina and whether you can maintain the relationship. So many crash and burn in 6 months, or we talk about the 2-year wall. Men run out of money and everything goes bad in the relationship. The family overwhelms them. Let's talk about some of these scenarios and what we've learned and what we've heard here in the Philippines. And if you want to avoid disaster, if you want a successful relationship, this video is for you.
Yeah. You know what? The thing about these 10 situations of relationship here in the Philippines is that there's a lot of men that doesn't talk about it, or they are scared to talk about it. All right, we're going to talk about scenario number 1. Are you going to live together before marriage?
Well, what do you think? Should they just marry the girl? She's a religious girl from a small town. Should you ask her to move in together and experience renting the milk before buying the cow?
Well, reality talk, based on our experience, we lived together before the marriage for
did.
like 1 year and 8 months.
And we worked together. It was like dog years.
Like I always say to people that you should know the person before tying the knot, because it's so hard to get annulment, or divorce is just a pain in the ass. But I think it also really helped you to know each other very, very well, and also for you not to move forward on a marriage that is really not for you.
I think a lot of men have been divorced before. They want to get this right. I spoke to a client this week, and he was just, I am not going to get married again. He'd been married several times. He just wasn't willing. It was financially very costly. He just wasn't going to do it. And, I explained to him I had no intention of getting married. But Chrissy let me know right away that was part of her long-term plan. She came from a religious family. She had been married once. It didn't work out. She really wanted to be a married woman and not a girlfriend or a mistress or a gold digger that someone would call her.
Yeah, speaking about I got married once, my vision when I was like teenager is that to follow what's the traditional here in the Philippines, where you have to marry the woman first before living together. But because of that mistake that I made, that I married a person that I'd never lived really in my entire life, I learned a lesson that you cannot know the person when you don't go through a lot of ups and downs in your life first before getting married.
When people get bored, when people are triggered, when they have financial pressure, you see how they handle money, you see how they handle gossip, you see how they handle their family members and whether they get bossed around by their family members. I think, you need that off-Broadway experience.
When I lived with you for 1 year, of course, I've seen your weaknesses. And I asked myself, could I live with this person with his weaknesses for 10 years, for 20 years, or for a lifetime? And if the answer is yes, then okay, I think I'm going to marry him.
Yeah.
But if the answer is no, then stop right there.
It would be crazy to just rush into marriage.
Yeah, I would say live together for at least 1 year is the best option for
Absolutely.
you before going marriage. Now, Rob, let's go to the next segment. And actually, this one is very controversial because a lot of people will have a lot of comments about this. Are you going to bring your Filipina to the West?
Oh my God. This is a big topic, and we've heard dozens and dozens of anecdotal stories where it didn't work out. We've had a dozen or 2 dozen clients write to us. We have several very good friends in the West where they brought their Filipinas back, and everything's working out wonderfully. There's a lot of men in their 30s. They don't have the luxury of having a pension, and they're going to K1 the women back home. And so this is a big issue. The question is, if you don't have to bring the woman back to America, should you? Well, the first thing is weather. We hear about these people bringing women to Canada. Good luck. Filipina, how do you think a Filipina is going to do in the cold weather?
I think Filipinas are really well adjusted. So a lot of Filipinos really are working now in Canada despite of the issue of the weather. So when it comes to like bringing your Filipina to the West, it's very complicated because you have to consider a lot of factors like how about your job? Are you retired yet? If you're not, then bringing your Filipina to the West will be your option because you cannot make money here in the Philippines and you cannot leave your work. You're going to sacrifice your pension. You're going to do that. And also, if your Filipina is really wanting to be in the West, at the very beginning she presented it, then that could be an issue if you don't want to bring her to the West.
It might make a man more attractive. A lot of women online are expecting to be asked to go to the West, get a green card.
But also, there's a lot of Western men that their pension, especially to those retired, that is only limited.
Well, they can't afford. But, their solution is to put the Filipina to work. And then before you know it, she's taken all the overtime she can get. She's sending money home. And how closely are the two connected? If she's working 50, 60 hours a week, including commute, and he's home on the Barca Lounger, he can only watch so much golf, and you start to maybe grow apart. And I think this is a big decision. If you're going to start a family and she's going to stay home and raise the babies, maybe have 2 or 3 children over a 5 to 10 year period and be the mom who picks up at elementary school, walking to the elementary, I think you've got a good chance of making it work because Filipinas are really family oriented and are very focused on the children. But if you're going to send her off to work in the big city and you're traveling on business as an engineer and she's working in a hospital and you two are, paying your taxes and she's in traffic, and I think, it's a challenge. I really do.
For Filipinas in general, the West is like a big picture of opportunity. So if you're going to bring the Filipina to the West, the number one thing that she would think is that she has to work.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Because the expenses would be as expensive compared to the Philippines, and she will think that she needs to go to work. And the more opportunities that will be open to her, the more tendency that could affect your relationship as well, especially if you don't work anymore and you stay in the house alone. Like you didn't really marry a Filipina, but you married somebody that is working outside your house every day. And
they quickly move from 1965 to 2026. They get in their own time machine. You bring them to America, they're living in 2026 And Chrissy, I just want to mention, vetting the woman at this point is the crucial. In all scenarios, if you've properly vetted the woman, you really know her, you know about her financial history, you know about her background, dating history, you really looked into her social media, the type of thing that Chrissy does for you. This is going to be so critical. And the big mistake a lot of my clients make is they've met the woman, they want to start the K1. Right away, they want to start the K1. It's okay to start it as long as you're coming back to make a final decision. You cannot get to know a woman well enough on a 3-week vacation to a 5-star resort and a beach. Like, no one is dropping the mask and showing you how they are under stress, who the real person is. You're not finding the family interaction. You must come minimum of 2 times for 3 or 4 weeks, and really the second time, slow it down, get out of the 5-star resort, live a daily life with this woman, get the ebb and flow of daily life, and then you still have 90 days before you marry her. But boy, it's a risky thing to do, to bring the wrong woman to America, one who you rushed and one who you never bothered to do a background check.
Making a decision driven by fantasy is very crucial. Like, there's a lot of men who made a decision of sending money to the Filipinas they never met even in video calls, because it's the fantasy that's driving that urge to send money to help the person that is in need. So I think vetting the Filipina is one thing that you will not lose anything.
There's nothing to lose.
If the Filipina is good, then you will gain confidence. If the Filipina is no good, then you just save a lot of money. Okay, the number 3 scenario, also controversial, is that living near her family.
Yes. Well, you're the Filipino. What do you have to say about this?
Well, right now we broke that rule because we brought my family here near where we live. Like, actually 1 hour, and my father is living with us because he's a big help.
I'm always telling guys, most expats live an hour or an hour and a half away from the Filipino family. They find it hard to remove her. You know, I'm not sure. I had a client just this week say to me, Rob, I'm going to come and explore the Philippines and try and find my retirement paradise. And then I'm going to try and meet a woman organically.
I think my advice is that live on a place wherever you feel comfortable. If you're comfortable being with the family around you, then live with that place. But if you're not, then talk to your Filipina, and if she's not good with it, then it's a sign that there's going to be a big problem ahead. All right, speaking of financial through the family, let's talk about the money trap.
The money dependency, the man on the white horse. And this is exactly the segue from the family. You know, people are in such utter poverty. And what is your superpower here? It's not money. It's the fact that you could fly to the Philippines and bring your lifestyle here. But so many men lead with their money. So many men let their money get away from them and get taken advantage of.
I mean, you have to be careful presenting your plan with your Filipina, because sometimes the Filipina is not really that lazy and dependent, but you make her want.
You train her.
Yeah, you train her to live a luxurious life. Now, after 5 years, she can't live without air conditioner in her bedroom.
Yeah.
She can't live without makeup. She can't live without designer's bag and designer's dresses and all that, because you trained her to be. So I think it also depends on you, on how you're gonna do the approach, how you're going to present your goal, and how you're going to spend your money.
You know, I've heard from several men where they came out on an initial visit, they went to visit the girlfriend's home, and before flying home, they bought the girlfriend an air conditioner, had it installed, and they cover the electric bill. And now the family runs the AC 24 hours a day. The first time they've ever had AC their whole life. We just got back from all this fancy travel. We were in a 5-star hotel in Boracay, and we were in 5 countries. So you take your Filipina, you want to travel, you want to see Southeast Asia, you want to travel companion, you take your Filipina on the road, and she sees, oh my God, in Singapore, the luxury. She's seeing how people live, she's seeing these crazy prices, and now when you come home, she got family members, they have no rice. She has family members who can't afford to go see a doctor. She has family members that can't pay for medicine. And there you are, having just shown her this life, and there's a real tendency to lose sight of the value of money and how you can spoil a person.
Yes, and the tendency is that you will be trapped on a financial situation that you cannot really afford. So my advice is avoid giving your Filipina the false financial impression. If your resources are limited, then tell her that that's the only thing that you can do. If she's going to accept you, then move forward. If she's not, then restart. All right, Rob, let's say you pass the money trap, the family, and anything else prior to the long-term relationship. Now you're in a long-term relationship and planning to move forward, like us, 3 years already.
Yes.
how are you going to avoid the boredom?
Boy, if you come here to the Philippines and you don't have a passion project, you're not volunteering, you're not taking up art, you're not skydiving, you're not scuba diving, you don't have enough money to travel, now you're spending a lot of time at home with a younger Filipina possibly who spends all her time doing things that you can't relate to.
And speaking about passion, it doesn't mean your passion, but it's a shared passion. Like you share it together. Because if you're just only going to develop your own passion and she's not really into it, it's not going to work. Right? If you have your own passion, she have her own passion, those passion will like make you separate.
Yeah, we have some friends that've been together a long time. She runs a business and he works out all the time. You know, but they've been together a dozen years. Your first, second year together, what are you going to do? You can only travel so much. Traveling's, over budget item. You can't, that's a very exceptional. Trust us, we just got back from 2 months of travel. You do need a passion project, or you need to have something that you are really committed to in retirement. I do believe it's important that, the oak and the cypress tree grow tall without blocking the shade from each other. So if your partner wants to do her individual life activities, you don't want to smother them. And you don't want to be smothered by your Filipina. But it would be great to have it. We started a YouTube channel. It's not for everybody, believe me. There's enough pleasure in it for us that we continue to do it. We love all the people we meet. We love all the subscribers we talk to and the consulting clients. That's been our passion project. Other people make terrible mistakes. They open up water stores and sorry stores, and oh my God, they think starting a small business together here in the Philippines, that rarely ever works out.
I think I understood why other couples have decided to try new things in their life. They don't know if it's really going to be successful or it's going to be failure, like putting up a business, because I think they're trying to maintain the oomph of the relationship, because planning the meeting to the Filipina is very exciting. The anticipation is really, really high. And then when you meet in person, the first 3 years will be incredible. But then after that, you're going to be experiencing the phase of your relationship, which is, it's just steady. Nothing new, no problem, but just stagnant.
Now, I don't want to give you any ideas, but some men here, more than you would think, start families. And that is a great passion project to raise children if you have the heart to do it again. The government in the United States, if you're 62, will give you half your full Social Security for each child, and the wife will then be insured if you die. So it's crazy. Some men double, and even up to 180% of your full Social Security can be received if you have 3 or more children under the age of 19. So some men do start families. Others, play golf and they do what they can. But this is a big issue.
I would say trying new things in the relationship is good. Just don't try new partner. Okay, now speaking of trying new partner, let's talk about the next segment. Why some Filipinas pull away.
Yeah, Chrissy, can you still enjoy each other when nothing exciting is going on? The international travel funds have dried up. You've gone to Vietnam and Thailand, and you've been, everywhere. It's like you just said before, it's regular life. What can you maintain your relationship without the excitement, without the splurge money?
Yes. You know what? In the relationship, you will always, not always, but it's possible that you will feel a pull and push emotions with your partner. Like there's some problem that could come along the way. You have a misunderstanding, disagreement, and then there's gonna be a pull away that will happen a little bit on that. But I think working on it right away, not waiting for the Filipina to pull back, is very important. Okay, now let's talk about jealousy and social media. We're social media people because we're here on YouTube.
Well, this is huge. I don't know, this could have been 3 categories instead of 1. Jealousy, I always say, Filipinas come born at level 6, and your job is to vet if she's at 8, 9, or 10. And if she is, you need to stage left. But 6, 7, you can manage it. You can't force them to go to 4 or 3. They're wired to be extremely jealous.
I think being jealous became normal in the Philippines. It's an emotion. It's a feeling. You will feel jealous. The most important thing is how you're gonna respond in your jealousy. Some Filipinas will respond with luggages and go away. Some Filipinas will express what they feel.
Some.
And I think expressing what you feel is important because the person, I mean, your partner will know what are you jealous about.
So
And you
this
can
is,
fix it.
yeah, and you know, when you take your Filipina to Boracay the first 7 days, you're not finding out how jealous she is. She may be a little jealous, but you're not getting to the bottom of it. Now let's go to the other one, the social media. This is really huge. You love watching shorts on social media, and I tried it. I did try it for like a month. I kind of got it sucked in for a week or two, but it was like stupid, and I don't like it. And you're always asking me to come check out a short, showing me a short. Filipinas are sort of addicted to their cell phones. You're not too bad. We have a 7-year-old son at home. We're making YouTubes. We're working all the time. But when I'm busy, you'll be on your
Watching
shorts. And sometimes you watch these silly Filipino dramas and they have a laugh track. And you know, the humor IQ, the emotional IQ can be a little bit hard for a Western man. Even if you were the same age, if you came from America at 35, you met a 35-year-old, you would be at a totally different place in terms of humor and shorts, I think. What do you think is advice to a Western man? Can his relationship survive the Filipinas' interest in social media?
I think it's okay as long as she's not pretending to be a single person on social media in public. Like, for example, there's a lot of Filipinas that I have reviewed on their social medias, and you will never know if she's in a relationship for 2 years with a foreigner man because there's no hints that she's in love. She appears to be available. So if that's the case, you should be concerned.
Okay.
But if she's active on social media, but it includes you there.
So this is a big, you know, a woman who hides you on her social media and you haven't met normal. Once you've been to the Philippines, you've consummated the relationship and she hides you on social media. And that is a little unusual. It's a bit of a red flag that Chrissy turns up in these social media reviews. The men can be jealous too. And the women are using it's like Chrissy speaks 3 languages. And so she could be in Tagalog, she could be in Cebuano, and she could be texting people and replying to comments, and she picks up a picture of herself at the beach looking pretty good, and there's 50 comments, and she's replying to comments in another language.
Yeah. Well,
Should a man be jealous of that?
if it doesn't include him, he should be concerned. Like what I said, it's always bad to have a social media that is very active with your Filipina and you don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, because social media is a window to the world. It's not just in the Philippines, but to all of the people in the world. It's open.
Okay, so in addition to tolerance for her having a social media shorts hobby, I think what you're saying is they should vet her on social media, find out who she really is.
Now that we talk about social media, if you're gonna stop her from doing that, she's gonna call you controlling. Now let's go to this next segment, which says the control problem.
Well, and there's a lot of things. If you make, this is a big mistake. You don't want to be her father. You want to be her boyfriend or husband.
It's okay to be a little bit big brother.
Yeah, but you know, how much time she spends on social media, who she hangs out with as friends, does she drink or not drink, does she work or not work, does she quit her job, what does she wear in the way of clothing, how sexy can, you turn 77 and she wants to go outside looking like $1 million and you say no. She might see that as very controlling.
Every time we talk about being controlling, I will always say the way to put it up to not appear very controlling is that present the disadvantages of the situation and also ask what she think about it.
This is a big problem. You're older, you're wiser, you've seen train wrecks, you've seen you like to nip problems in the bud, and you got this bubbly, vivescent woman who likes to go out and she likes to dress, she likes to dance, she likes to be social. You got to watch your controlling. You can't be too controlling.
Yeah, but there are a lot of situations that you will appear controlling to your Filipina. So I think you have to be
money. We haven't talked about money. So we have this funny thing. I have a 3 no policy. My default is no.
Yeah.
And if I don't get asked again, well, that was the answer. If I get asked a second time, my answer is no.
No.
And if I get asked a third time, well, I'll think about spending that money and I'll think about a yes. And quite often, Chrissy knows that if she asks me a third time, I will give her my real bottom line answer. But if it costs money, like, you know, can we buy balut? No.
Yeah. Well, so far I didn't ask for a big thing yet.
Right. Do you think that's controlling?
I don't know. It's a tactic maybe that you use for yourself. Self-protection for you not spend
financial
money. I don't know.
preservation.
But like what I said, so far I didn't ask for a big money.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe next time if I'm gonna say, hey baby, let's buy a beach house. And the third time I'm just gonna say, baby, let's buy a beach house. Come on, let's go.
I'm gonna go. But I don't say yes every time on the third time.
So we talk a lot of these scenarios and it's kind of like very challenging. The question is, what makes the relationship really work?
Well, I think remaining calm, being considerate of the other person's culture. Both, you have to learn my culture and I have to learn yours.
Like I learned your 3 no's.
Yeah, right. And you have to be adaptable. You have to be in a generally good mood. You can't be all depressed and expect the other person to put up with it. You have to be financially prudent, and you can't just say yes and run out of money. You can't say no all the time and be someone where the Filipina has she can't buy street food, she can't buy lipstick. You can't make it so that the woman has to come to you for every penny. And communication is very important. I do think you have to have some ground rules over tampo. And for men who meet a woman who says her tampo is a 6 or a 7, boy, you better negotiate that up front and tell her, you're willing to put up with mild tampo on a limited engagement basis. I personally would not, I don't care how pretty a woman is or how great everything else is. If she's going to pull, like, I don't talk to you for 2 days until I get what I want, or I don't talk to you for 2 days and you have to come on your knees and beg forgiveness, that relationship never gets off the ground with me.
I think what really makes the relationship work is that mutual feelings and mutual affection. Like if you love the person because she's pretty and she's young, the moment she will reach the age that she's gonna have wrinkles, that love will disappear. Yeah. If she loved you because of your money, the moment that you're gonna have financial struggle, that love will disappear. Yeah. So there's no relationship that will work in a one-way ticket love.
You better have a solid foundation. And we talked about the family, we talked about the finances, we talked about the jealousy, we talked about social media. This is just in general, you better have good communication. In order for your relationship to work, you have to have a level of communication. There's this age gap and an experience gap. Mm-hmm. And, as men, we have made a lot of mistakes and learned from those mistakes. And we know...
Well, that's 37 years of experience,
That's
baby.
Right. So if your Filipina is not interested in any transference of those life lessons, mm-hmm. this could be a red flag. And Chrissy has been willing to hear me out and explain. I've talked about when I was 22 and I was a jealous person. It was just, kept shooting myself in the foot, and eventually I could be jealous too, but I've learned from trial and error, it's usually a very bad result.
So I think being in an age gap relationship is that it's the same as having a living book that could tell you what's the possible mistake that you could do when you're 30. What's the possible mistake that you can do when you do that. All right. Now, speaking about how the relationship will work, let's go to the next segment, which is there's one thing that men should not forget.
The Filipina is not just auditioning to be your wife.
Yes, you are also auditioning to be her better future. So sometimes in these channels in YouTube, we're focusing about the mistakes that Filipina makes or what kind of Filipina you should look for. We don't normally see how the Western man is. Like, are you ideal for this Filipina that you're looking for?
Are you going to bring the peace and, not prosperity, but Filipinas want, they want to be calm and secure.
There's this one Filipina told me, you know what, Chrissy, I really love your videos because it's helping the man to detect red flags about Filipinas. How about you make a video about detecting the red flags of the Western men?
I mean, it's true, Chrissy. There are Western men when they're alone with the guys, they have eyes for the other Filipinas. They're interested in socializing, and maybe not crossing the line, but they're flirting. There are Western men who we know from experience, it only lasts 6 months. It only lasts 6 months.
Yeah.
There have been vloggers, we've talked about this. There are numerous vloggers that have been on YouTube for 5 years, for 10 years. There's nothing devious about them, but they just burn through relationships, 6 months here, 3 months there. They introduce the girls on their YouTube channel, and they have a real difficult time landing in a long-term relationship. And the Filipinas should be on the lookout for the warning signs that they could be in a 3-month relationship or a 6-month relationship. What are those warning signs?
For me, when he put his phone down on the table. That's the one thing I've observed the first time, you know, the first year maybe we were together, and I felt uncomfortable because it shows that you're hiding something, but maybe it's your habit that time. And also other thing is that when you don't introduce your Filipinas to your family, to your children, and things like that.
Friends.
Yeah, and friends. And also other thing that will lose the Filipinas security, that feeling, is when you treated other women special as well. So she will feel that, oh, I'm not that special, because that's really how he treats women in the Philippines.
Well, in the West, we treat waitresses and cashiers like they're special, and we try and uplift their day. Here in the Philippines,
it's just a total different culture.
Here in the Philippines, it sort of indicates you're interested, so you got to learn to tone that down. You know, Chrissy, I always said Filipinas usually have PTSD. They were cheated on, lied to, their boyfriend or husband died, became a drunk, a drug user, moved away and started another family, and they have a choice. They can become overseas foreign workers, become a breadwinner for their family, or they could meet you. And they'd rather meet you and not have to leave their child for 3 years, and they'll have a higher status if they meet you, actually. But they do tend to have PTSD. They've been cheated on, they've been lied to, and a lot of times it drives them crazy if you're very private with your smartphone.
Yeah, you know what? There's this a big question that I got in my mind, like, why is that when a Filipina and a foreigner relationship will be broken, a lot of people will assume that it was the Filipina's fault?
Really?
Like some, you know, based on the comments, it's just because, oh, the other
because,
woman found another Western man, or she's pregnant, or she is in a relationship with someone else. Why it's not, oh, because the Western man is controlling and very arrogant.
There are these two marriage counselors, and they were like 70 years old. They wrote a book after like 40 years of doing marriage counseling sessions. You know, they were being interviewed on the Today Show, and the interviewer said, "Give me the takeaway. Give me the sweet spot takeaway. The takeaway." And they said, "It's always the man's fault." It's like, oh my God, whatever men have been going to this marriage counselor haven't been getting their money's worth. So I don't know. I think, you know, we have an audience of mostly men. We read Philippine expats Facebook groups. We see what's on the Facebook groups. We talk to men, and they share, you know, their last relationship's demise, and they share problems they've run into. Like, there's no doubt about it. Trying to meet a Filipina online is very difficult, and they're always being asked for money, and they have to want to walk the gauntlet of just bullshit. And that's why I'm doing this other video on how to meet organically and really do it the right way if you're not going to work online. The one thing you should never forget is this can be a hard emotional landing. The Filipina can have PTSD, be fearful, overly emotional, overly jealous, trained to have tampo and have tampo to get her own way, lived in poverty and not be adjusting well to your money, be intimidated by your family, intimidated by your friends, intimidated by your food. And this emotional hard landing might be something worth working your way through.
Yes, and I think you should remember that in a relationship, it's a two people's job.
Yeah.
It's not just a Filipina should consider everything that you want the relationship to be, but you also consider what the Filipina is comfortable of. If she's not comfortable with this particular thing, that also evaluate yourself if you can really comply on that. If not, then I think we should have a talk, a deep talk.
And if you are interested in organically meeting a Filipina and you don't want to go online, I talk to you specifically about the 7 ways to organically meet a Filipina, getting out of the big cities and settling into a routine. And the one way that absolutely is a mistake, boots on the ground. That'll be next.
By the way, this is actually why there's a lot of men who scheduled consultation with Rob and I, because some of them have already taken the first step, but they had difficulty on making the move forward.
That's right, Chrissy. Our big brother, little sister consultation service is travel planning, where to retire, how to navigate your initial steps online if you want to meet a Filipina, how to actually meet a Filipina organically in person. Chrissy often helps untangle when you've been wrapped around the axle and decode the Filipina for you when you're just getting a relationship started. And in addition, Chrissy offers a very, very successful side hustle, a social media open source intelligence review. It's a 4 to 6 hour deep dive on ethical and moral, publicly available social media. Many people in the Philippines, Chrissy, come up with hidden Facebook pages. I would say 50 to 100, almost 100% of the time. You
Hidden
find
Facebook.
second, third, fourth Facebook pages.
Hidden Facebook and hidden boyfriends.
We recently found somebody that has been married, and we found their name, their married name. They claim to have never been married.
They currently have a boyfriend.
Currently have a boyfriend, on vacation with a boyfriend. And half of these clients have already visited the Philippines and traveled with their Filipino 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times, and only half are getting a pass. The second half of those reviews are consultations, where Chrissy and I, we reply not just to the results of the review, but data that you can share. What happened when you were together, her jealousy, how much money she's asking for after you meet. There's a lot of things that men share after the review that are red flags to Chrissy and I, and we spend time giving you our honest assessment after hundreds of consultations. We tell you as your big brother and little sister what we think of the relationship you found yourself in. And Chrissy, I want to bring up 2 things. My biggest challenge, our biggest challenge, mentoring men from the West, whether you're already here in a relationship or whether you just want to start a relationship. Number 1 is men are not as selective as they should be. You are the scarce resource, and it's really challenging for us to tell men that they could do better. They should be more selective. They should slow down and let the data present itself and determine whether the data is a green light or a red light. And they want to do this once, and they want to be very, very selective. It's very challenging for us to get you guys to be selective. And sometimes as part of our consultations, that's where we can kind of work with you. By the time you've chosen, by the time Chrissy does a background review, 6 months sometimes goes by. We could have saved you all that trouble 2 weeks in. Chrissy could have told you, that's a BS excuse. She ghosted you. That's the message she sent you. That's not right. You know, you could have seen some yellow flags early on. You could have been more selective early on. You could have done a social media review early on. And Chrissy, the second thing is perseverance and persistence. You know, I wish I could tell you it's like taking candy from a baby. It's not. It's not like falling out of bed. Yes, there's beautiful Filipinos everywhere. And yes, they are going to be interested in you. And yes, you can make friends and go on dates very easily. But meeting your best friend is something that's going to take some vetting and some selection and some persistence. So if you're not willing to get thrown out at your first at bat, if you're not willing to get a face full of dirt getting thrown out, sliding into second base, this might not be a task for you. But if you are willing to take your at-bats and you dust yourself off, excuse the baseball metaphor, this is an endeavor where you will get your home run over the center field fence. You will find a woman just like Chrissy to be there at your side and live your best life. If you're interested, drop us a line at flymetothephilippines@gmail.com.
And we could help you.
Okay, till next time, don't forget to subscribe and like this video.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines.